Alright, howdy folks. Welcome to this month's second episode of Real Geeks. I swear it's really the second episode. Look, we had a hurricane. We get a mulligan, alright?
It's complicated. Leave us alone.
We swear the review for It Chapter 2 is coming.
It's coming.
Or what we were able to cobble together of a review. We are now going to be discussing Rambo Last Blood.
Rambo.
Or possibly Rambo, we hope it's the Last Blood.
Rambo, apparently there's talk of a produced prequel.
That, I hadn't heard that, but what I had heard was Stallone initially saying this is going to be the last one.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if it was Venice or Cannes, but at one of the film festivals he was like, well, if this does well, I might do another one.
Oh my god.
And now me saying this has nothing to do with my actual opinion of this film, but dude, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Please stop. You managed to do something that is a decent ending for the character. Stop.
Yeah.
We don't need... No.
Of course, I am Mike Montgomery, and I am joined by Mickey Gorman because everybody else is at CaperCon in Sydney.
Hanging out with Robert Picardo. Ugh.
No, we're not jealous at all.
Damn you, Robert Picardo. Damn you!
So, for this film, Rambo is now basically a cowboy because, I mean, alright. Like, it's one of those, you hear me say it, and it makes no sense.
And then you see it and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, alright.
Yeah.
And, like, the movie opens with him basically, like, breaking wild stallions. And I thought back to the last movie where he was basically hunting and capturing wild snakes in, like, Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah, oddly, this works. And I don't know, every time he said stallion, a little hair on the back of my neck.
But yeah, like, he's on the ranch that we see him walking to at the end of the previous movie. With his housemaid friends.
I actually had to look it up. Because this film was so odd, I actually went back and rewatched the entire series, and then I had to go on the wiki to figure out who the hell she is.
Yeah.
She's just his friend, but she has the same name as his mom and lives at his family house. His niece later calls her grandma. So I literally thought that was his mom for the entire film.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing, because it is not clear who she is to him.
No.
At all.
No, live-in maid or friend or lover. It's really not. And like, all right, this is a film. Like, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, but there's clearly another film between this and the last one where something happens and he has to go save this girl, Gabrielle, from her worthless father 10 years ago. Like, something happened, and by just jumping from the last Rambo film where he shows up to this one where it's like, oh, and here's my B-list characters. These are all my side characters and friends. You've never met them before, but I expect you to know who they are in our dynamics. And it's just, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, was it cut? Like, because this was a tight film. This was an hour and a half flat. And I feel like there was stuff that was cut that was like...
Oh, no, there absolutely was.
Yeah.
I'll go into this a little more later, but it was into editing, according to the IMDb trivia anyway, it was still in editing up to, like, a couple weeks, I think, before its release.
You know, it turned out pretty decent for that.
It did, but at the same time, there are points where that really shows.
Yes, yeah, and you're just like, what the hell? Like, all right, here's one thing popped into my head as the film ended. I was like, wait, that was it? Okay, structurally it was fine, but the first act is 60% of the runtime. The second act is 30% of the runtime. The third act is 10% of the runtime. 10% is a complete act. And that's the last 10 minutes. And I'm not kidding. The last 10 minutes is the film that you thought you were going to see.
Yeah, really, it is. But so, like, he's living with this basically every older Mexican woman you've ever seen in a film, and like in every way you can possibly imagine. And her, I think, granddaughter, his like, he's basically adopted this 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
This girl decides that she wants to go to Mexico to find her biological father because, of course, she does. And if you've seen the first Taken, you remember the conversation between Liam Neeson and his daughter, where she wants to go to France, and he's like, no. There's a lot of bad people out there. It's not safe. Yada yada yada. Okay, if you remember that scene, you know where this is gonna go.
Yeah. That first act I was telling you about, the 60% of the runtime,
Yeah.
that's Taken.
Oh yeah.
That's just the movie Taken.
And so like they argue, and then she's like, I'm gonna go to my friend's house or whatever it was. Gets in her car and drives off. And any audience member with an ounce of common sense is going, you know, she's going to Mexico, right?
Yeah, it's just like, how convenient, John, that she's decided to just leave and go to her friend's house after you have 2 arguments about this. I'm sure it's fine.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it's fine. Don't follow her at all.
So she she meets up with a convenient long lost friend of hers in Mexico who just happens to be the one who magically found her dad.
Yeah.
Like, if she had been the reporter character that we meet later on, I think that would have worked so much better.
Yeah, there definitely needed to be like a rewrite to combine those characters. Like, have the reporter decide to help him because she screwed up, and that's why he got beaten and Gabrielle got kidnapped.
Yeah.
That now she has a reason, instead of just being like, I saw this big violent guy in a bar, and he was going to get in a fight with these other big violent guys. And after I sat there and watched this big violent brawl, which I was 10 feet from, and at any point someone could have been like, who's that lady? You know, she's just like, I'm gonna go help the big violent guy because I'm sure this won't at all end up with me being dead. And then she just disappears from the film.
Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, like, his niece gets captured by a Mexican human trafficking ring, because, again, Taken. I mean, and Stallone goes down to Mexico to get her back. That doesn't work. Stuff happens. And then we get to the part where we might as well just go straight to spoilers. Because if nothing else, we've said that a lot of this movie is Taken, and I've heard a lot of people say that this movie is basically Stallone's Taken.
Yeah.
What this really is would be Taken if Liam Neeson wanted an Oscar really badly.
Yeah, no, that's true, because Taken is kind of really schlocky, and this is schlocky, but a different kind.
There are points where Stallone starts monologuing as Rambo for no reason other than the fact that he's going, I am going to get an Oscar.
Yeah.
So help me.
It's funny because the monologues rarely had anything to do with what was going on screen or necessarily what the character was probably feeling. It's more like, Stallone knew, like, okay, this is going to be the end of the character, and he has to reflect on everything that came before, and doing that really made the whole thing seem ultra ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, I have to reflect. Dewey Cox needs to think of his entire life before he goes on stage.
Dewey Cox needs to think about his entire life before he plays.
Like, for me with this movie in general, it's like, it's not a bad movie. Like, I don't think it's quite as bad as people are saying.
No, it's actually a very competent film.
Yeah. Like, the general consensus seems to be it's either really good or really bad. And I think for me, I'm more or less in the middle.
Yeah.
Because it's a good movie, we don't need this movie at all.
No.
Like,
no.
this movie did not need to be made, but it's decently done. And I think the most fascinating thing was, if you put any other character into the Rambo spot, this movie cannot work.
No.
No.
Now, throughout, I actually had the thought of like, okay, what if I just institute John McClane into the same position? Because it's more or less the later Die Hard films.
Yeah.
Where something occurs and John has to go. The Johns have to go somewhere to help a family member who is in some international pickle.
Yeah.
And so it's essentially one of the later Die Hard films, but done better. Like, that's the weirdest thing. Is it's a better Die Hard film?
Like, there are points where, like, in the opening, you see Rambo going through, like, checking the tunnels that he's built under his farm.
There's something that really frustrated me. Is like, okay, I'm cool. The tunnels are a reference to First Blood Part 1 when he escapes into the tunnels of the mine shaft and all that. Cool, I get it. They didn't make it it's like this thing of like, I dug a bunch of tunnels. Okay, but why? Because I have PTSD and need to live in these tunnels. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a cut scene somewhere where it becomes more explicit.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, any other action character doing that.
Yeah.
Except maybe Matrix from Commando.
Yeah.
Aside from him, there's no other character where that scene works, because, like, you see Rambo going through and it's like, I know he's a Vietnam vet who is severely fucked up in the head.
Yeah.
So I can look at that and go, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Well, it becomes this weird thing of like, okay, you have a PTSD from both the war and then your experiences after. But recreating those environments is not going to... It's not going to be healthy.
No.
Nor is it something that someone with PTSD would do. I'm going to spend hours and hours and hours recreating the environment that my greatest traumas occurred in. Not intentionally, and yet that's clearly where he lives. He doesn't live in the house. He lives in the tunnels beneath his house.
Oh yeah, like, I could see a scenario of like this is where he feels safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And he thinks essentially carving a knife for his niece before she goes to college is a good idea.
Yeah.
For him, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how he didn't say, here, use this for protection. He's like, it's a letter opener. And it's like, you're trying.
Yeah.
You're trying to live a normal life, but you just made a fucking dagger. And you're just, it's for letters. The movie ends with John wounded, sitting on his front porch.
Yes.
Saying like, I gotta live on and remember everyone, even though he's like 80-something is totally going to die from his wounds.
Yeah.
And I feel like secretly, even though there's the, actually especially because of the later scene where he rides the horse into the sunset.
Yes.
He's dead. He's dead. John Rambo is dead. He should be dead.
He should be. Like, I wish, like, that montage stinger you mentioned, you could have taken about the first 2/3 of that, put it at the start of the movie as essentially a title sequence, not do a stinger at all, and just leave Rambo at the end of the movie in his rocking chair, that old warrior who's fought one last battle and is now just going to watch one more sunrise before he dies.
Yeah.
And again, another perfect ending for the character.
Exactly. That would have been fantastic, and I feel almost like that was there at some point, and they cutting roomed it to pieces.
One of the things that I really did, and this will sound morbid as hell, but one of the things that I really did like is, like, as we've compared it to Taken and Equalizer and so forth, there is one thing that there are a couple things that they do here different than those movies that almost seems like they were answering complaints from fans and critics of those movies. One, his niece dies.
Yeah, that was really surprising.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, okay.
And like, this is the only movie in this particular genre where they're willing to do that.
Yeah.
And when Rambo realizes that she's dead, he just pulls over, kind of rests his head on the steering wheel for a moment,
Yeah.
and says, "Why not me?"
Yeah, and that was great.
Which, yes!
Terrific character work.
Yes!
Character work. You remembered what you were working with. Good for you. That was a good scene.
Oh, that was, like, again, a little thing where, that was something where, again, you wish they had done a little more with that.
Yeah, and like an extra film of setup would have made that all the more powerful. Of like, if you get to know this character and then she dies right when you expect her to live because of cliches, that would be a gut punch.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last 10 minutes, again, that occurs, I want to say, within the 15-minute mark near the end. And then there's 5 minutes of setup. Or no, he goes and murders those guys, that one guy in that house in Mexico.
Yeah.
To get the other guys to come. And then, so that's 5 minutes. And then it's just 10 minutes of violent Home Alone. It's efficient. It's super efficient.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's efficient in the sense that you're already at the hour and 15-minute mark of an hour and a half movie. And you're like, is this seriously just going to wrap up? Like, wrap up?
Yeah.
And it did. It just went, kill all these guys. And it's not that Rush is killing them. It really, it's a well-paced scene of murder. And it has a great end when he tells the guy, I'm gonna pull your hair out. And he pulls his fucking heart out. And you're just like, delivered.
Oh, yeah. And another thing is just the simple fact, in that final 15-minute action sequence, they do one more thing that Taken and Equalizer and so forth won't do, which is you actually see Rambo get shot.
Yes, yeah, and not only like shot, but like it actually affects him. It's not yeah, whatever, and he keeps going like you'd probably see in an Expendables film.
Yeah.
He gets shot, and the reason he gets shot the second time is because of the effect of getting shot the first time. He's slower, he's in pain, he can't maneuver the same way. He gets shot twice. Fantastic.
If you have to do one more Rambo movie, which apparently Stallone did, fine. This could have been another Rambo 1 in quality. This could have been.
Yeah.
Which would have, again, perfectly brought the entire franchise full circle.
Yeah, and like in interviews, he said, "Oh, I think it brings it full circle." It's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah, I guess technically, if you think like, oh, he's a lone wanderer again, that's not full circle.
No,
because he's literally where he was as like a 22-year-old. Nothing has changed. He's still fundamentally broken, and at some point, he's going to get himself killed. Getting himself killed is the end point. And that's why I think it really works better if he's just like rocking. I just wanted his rocking chair to stop. Like, rock, slow, stop, fade. Done.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
beautiful.
Like I said, at the end of the previous movie, you have the soldier who's finally feels like, I've redeemed myself, it's time to go home. And we get to see him go home. He gets the happy ending.
Yeah.
Again, could have easily stopped there, and I think we all would have been happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never really understood his redemption thing. And rewatching the series, it especially becomes clear that he doesn't have anything to redeem himself for. And at some point, many films ago, he should have come to understand that.
Yeah.
Like, First Blood Part 2 should have ended with him accepting that he's not responsible for people dying around him. And it seemed to be when you get to Rambo 3, and it's nothing but like murder. And you get to the last one, and like it's like he hasn't had any character development whatsoever in those years.
No.
And he's actually regressed, and it makes no sense because there wasn't an inciting event. It's just like it's like he didn't have anyone to talk to for years, and he's convinced himself that he's the reason everything goes wrong. And it's like, no, dude, you're who they call in when shit goes wrong.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. I think As much as I like the opening scene of this when he's trying to save those hikers in the gorge as the water's rushing down, and I really like that scene because he's not trying to hunt or kill anything. He's literally just trying to save someone from like water. Great scene. Actually shows who the character is.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense in context, especially when the cops are like, "Hey, thanks, John, for coming out," and it's like, this man once killed a bunch of cops by throwing a rock at a helicopter. He's literally a cop killer, and they're just like, let's get him. He'll come help us find these missing people.
Rambo, Last Blood.
Oh yeah, and then there's the other, and then I know we're kind of trying to wrap it up, but why the fuck was it called Last Blood? It had nothing thematically to do with First Blood Part 1 or 2. Someone in marketing came up with that.
Oh, absolutely. And if this is the last movie, then I could be fine with the title.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm just gonna go into ratings now because I think for me this is a 3.5. There's, like we said, there's so much here that could have been done and could have been played with, and just this could have been such a better movie than it was. But at the same time, at 90 minutes, it's a pure dumb action movie that does not overstay its welcome.
No, it's tight.
No, because of that, I can't hate it.
No.
But if we get another Rambo movie, I'm dropping this down to a 2.5.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
cheapen it immediately.
Yeah. Oh, it would cheapen. Like Stallone needs to be stopped. Quite like it's just like Sly, dude. You are putting more endings on this character than a Stephen King novel. Yeah. I'm connecting back to our I Swear It's Coming It Chapter 2 review. Because the 4 endings drove me insane.
Oh my god, I just realized It Chapter 2 is literally twice as long as this film.
Yep.
And has maybe a fifth of the current plot. Like, wow, that's weird.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, but John Rambo is scarier than Pennywise.
Yeah.
He absolutely is.
Like, I Pennywise the Clown, you kick in the balls and laugh at. John Rambo, you kick him in the balls and suddenly your face is going across the room. Just
And but it's a beautiful final action sequence, and with the scene where he's literally ripping the other cartel leader's heart out of his chest.
After he uses his bow to pin him against the wall. So it's just a lovely callback of like, oh, and remember, it's Rambo. Bow.
Yeah, it's Rambo, so of course the bow is going to come out.
Yeah.
And I'd swear he shot him in the same spots that he hits the playing cards in the prep montage. Like, I would have to see it again to be sure, but I could have sworn.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Which kind of almost throws it into this thing of like, how much of a plan did he have? It's like, okay, and at 2 minutes, he's going to be right here, and I'm going to do this.
So, like overall, it's a good movie, but it does also rely on the legacy of Rambo a little too much.
Yeah, but in a weird way. I'm also going to give it a 3.5 on condition that it's the last.
Yeah.
And that, on the headcanon that he dies at the end. That's what I'm running with.
Oh, no, he has to.
But I feel like the extended edition of this should be a little more, like, by all means, R-rated violent, but cartoonish. There should almost be an element of every single Rambo film in it.
Yeah.
And this didn't have enough of Rambo 3. Just give me some over-the-top silliness. You can stick it in the middle of very serious action stuff, so it just kind of like comes off as comic relief. Just give me a little bit of like really over the top. Where's my headband?
But with that, next month, now that we're finally getting back to normal because we have an actual studio again, and we might actually have at least a 3-person cast as we check out The Joker.
Yes.
Either the DC film we don't really need, or the incel-inspiring movie that was probably a really bad idea. Yeah, that'll be the first week of October, and then since I just found this out like last night, the second week of October, we'll check out Gemini Man, the new Will Smith movies. I was sort of like, oh, that's October 11th?
Completely.
All right. Oh, I didn't even know. With that, outside of here, I don't think I have any HalCon related events coming up until the con itself at the end of October, because the only thing that I'm aware of right now is the Harry Potter night up in Berwick on October 8th, but since I'm not a Harry Potter fan at all, I may or may not be going. But otherwise, you can actually support the show, as well as my other endeavors, specifically the character that I run on social media of Addy the Adipose, where you can go to redbubble.com/people/Addy the Adipose. Look, I didn't come up with the address, okay? Where you can find entirely unique Adipose Doctor Who related shirts like the one I am wearing right now, which, if you're also a wrestling fan, you will have a Bullet Club shirt that no one else on the planet owns.
Special.
And also, I have to say, the shipping on this one was really fast.
Oh, fantastic.
It was, I'd ordered it on a Sunday and got it on like the Friday.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fast.
It was amazing.
Oh, excuse me. You can see me on youtube.com/mygender-is-cinema. I just released part 1 and 2 of my 4-part series, The History of the Western. And I will be releasing part 3 hopefully this week. Which to produce, I actually found the most awesome cover of a song ever. I started going in and looking at Japanese covers of country pop songs from the mid-century. Fucking fantastic. Look for it. History of the Western, part 3.
Oh, and yeah, like I would say check this out just for the music, because having heard the, I believe, Taiwanese cover of Mickey from the Meg.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
There's a kind of wonderful simplicity to all of it, and it's just beauty. Beauty.
But otherwise, we'll see you next month. First with the Joker. Until then, that's a wrap. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, share this video with your friends, and drop us a line anytime you like.